Welcome to another powerful episode on Quiet Empire. I'm your host, Safaa Alam. Today's episode is about leadership, not the loud kind, but deeply intentional. Leadership that is built through discipline, clarity, and quiet decisions made every single day. And this is what my guest represents. She moves between data, strategy, and creativity. But what fascinates me the most about her isn't what she does, but how she thinks. We also talk about motherhood because that made her evolve in the most powerful way. So please welcome Nyambura Murigi.
Yeah, thank you so much, Safa. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm
Thank you
happy
for
to
having
have
me. What
you.
a powerful intro. I
Thank
really
you.
love that.
I'm
So,
so glad you liked
yeah, happy
it.
to dig into the conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I always like to start the episode at the beginning of someone's early years
Yeah.
because I feel like how we approach work, ambition, and discipline is often rooted in the foundations that we're raised with. So, growing up, what did success look like in your home?
I think it was colored by a lot of hard work. I saw
Mhm.
both my mom and my dad, they're both entrepreneurs.
Oh,
And
lovely.
so it was, I think if I think about what common thread tied, that experience, it was that, it was hard work. My
Mhm.
mom, even in taking care of the home, she was so diligent. She cooked all our meals for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. She would leave
Mhm.
meetings to come and cook for us. So
Yeah.
they were both just very diligent in their own spaces. But I think also now where it comes to motherhood,
Mhm.
I saw my mom really balance and be present at home even while building
Mhm.
a career.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I would say.
I love
A lot
that.
of hard
Yeah.
work.
I
My dad
love.
was also very academic,
Yeah.
so he did not play about school.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
I love that. We often think that strategy and discipline is something we learn when we're in a corporate space,
yeah.
but it's actually something that we learn at home at a very
Yeah.
young
And
age.
by watching, I think a lot of things that even now in my own motherhood journey, I'm conscious of, my son will learn from watching me. He will not
Exactly.
necessarily learn from what I tell him, but from the
Hmm.
example that I set. And so I think my parents have been the most powerful example of hard work and just having drive and intention and diligence as a
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
It's really funny that you mentioned that because right before you came, I was
Yeah.
shooting a solo episode.
Yeah.
And so much that you're saying that I was seeing in that
Oh,
episode.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's the thing that connects us as humans. We all have
exactly.
similar
Yeah. And you tend to
foundations
understand
and
your parents
experiences.
more once you're a parent
For
yourself.
sure. Yeah. Like now, I don't know how my mom did it.
Yeah.
I work from home, and so it allows me to be as present as I need to be with my
Mm-hmm.
son. If I had to leave the house, back then
Yeah.
they didn't have mobile phones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think she had a car initially. I
Exactly.
remember one story where she tells us her neighbor called her and told her, your nanny has left, and your
Oh
young
my
kids
God.
who are under 3 years are
Yeah.
just outside alone. So can you imagine
Whoa.
you're coming from town in a matatu to come and
Yeah.
take care of your kids? But it also goes back to the power of having strong community and a village around you.
Exactly.
And so that's something that I try and also lean on in my own
Mm-hmm.
motherhood journey. But yeah, it was very, very difficult. Then the constraints were so hard.
Exactly.
And so I don't know how my mom did it. I have so
Yeah.
much more respect for her
I
now.
always say that mothers
Yeah.
are our superheroes
Yeah, they
forever.
are. They are. Honestly,
Yeah.
and it's in the small, again, these sacrifices you don't really notice as children. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course I need to eat.
Exactly.
But now when you're a mom or a parent yourself, it just hits different.
Very true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So when you were in school or any time in your early years, was
Mhm.
there ever a time that you realized you were structured for leadership or strategy?
The sense of responsibility is inbuilt in me.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've always been passionate about is the ability to influence people and encourage people. And so that's what I see leadership. It's rooted in care for people. And
Yeah.
I think because that's always been innate, I, yeah, I always did in primary school all the way to till uni.
Mm-hmm.
I was also just always going for any class rep opportunities,
Yeah.
any opportunity to shape decisions and to influence people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was always very interesting to me, even through stories. And that's
Yeah.
what drew me, I think, to the world of marketing and communication.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my leadership is not loud. It's not politician
Yeah.
type, boisterous. It's very quiet and it's a quiet empire.
I love
Yeah,
that. I love
yeah,
that. You really align with
yeah,
Quiet Empire.
yeah.
So across all that, was there ever a moment that you had a feeling that you're truly capable and competent?
Wow, I would have to say it is when I finished primary school, there's always a lot of pressure on the kind of high school that you pick because you want to pick one of the best. Because there was this idea that the school that you go to will set you up for a certain level of success. And
Yes.
so, I mean, I think based on what I knew at the time, I really, really wanted to go to Kianda High School, which was an extension of where I went to
Okay.
primary. Anyway, a lot of drama happened and I wasn't able to go there. But I remember feeling so scared about telling my dad that I kind of got in trouble at school, and this is kind of impeding my opportunity to
Yeah.
progress in this school for high school. But the one thing that he told me at that point, anyway, to tie the story back, they came back calling me eventually. I wasn't part of the first selection, but I was part of the second selection. And my dad just told me, "You are nobody's second best. And so I'll find you a new school." And that's how I transitioned to a different school. And I had the best time. Honestly, before education for me was just very academic, it was about cramming. But now it started to evolve into just knowledge and being excited for that. And I think the moment that made me feel really, really capable was my dad seeing me for me and ensuring that I'm not attaching my value to a particular school or a hierarchy or, you know, a particular path even. It was
Yeah.
just about you as a person. You are valuable and this is how you need to move around the
Exactly.
world. So I really, man, this is why I'm so passionate about motherhood because I really think you have such a strong opportunity to influence a young life and to shape it because the things that I remember now as a 30 something year old woman goes back to what my parents poured in me as a child.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's when I think that's one moment that comes to mind that I just felt capable for me just
Yeah.
for being who I am.
I think that was very powerful that he did that for you
Yeah.
because it stuck to you till now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. It's how I move around in relationships, career,
Yeah.
everything. I try, and of course, I do have moments of doubt, but I try and always move from a place of believing innately in my own value because it's my birthright.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you studied in the
Yes,
UK and you came back
yeah.
home. What
Why did I
shaped
come?
that decision for you?
Yeah, family. I remember actually that the particular period in which I came home, my brother was going to the US to pursue a career in golf. And at the time, he was 13.
Oh, in golf.
Yeah.
Wow. At 13 years old?
Honestly, yeah.
That's
Parents,
lovely.
but as I said, my dad is very set on academic success.
Yeah.
But I think as my younger brother came, he's really evolved into a parent who cares deeply about, your interests and you exploring that. And so that's what happened. Last ones, they always get the benefit of a more relaxed parent,
Yeah. I'm a last one, so
Oh,
ask
really?
me.
This girl, So, and so he was going to school at the time, and I just felt I didn't want him to go before I get an opportunity to kind of, see him off.
Yeah.
And then at that point, when I was coming home, it was after I finished my master's, is when I started to think about, okay, so am I going home to say bye to him and come back? Or do I want to go and build my life there?
Yeah.
And I think it was a no-brainer. I believe that the quality of my life is exponentially better around my family and around my community.
Yeah.
And so the UK was always just a means to an end. It was to get a good education, to get some exposure, some global exposure. But the goal was always to build a home and a life around my family
Yeah.
and my community. Yeah.
I feel like when you go study abroad and you come back home, you start to see everything from a new lens.
Yeah.
And you appreciate so much that is back home.
Yeah, exactly. The
Exactly.
little bit. I mean, of course, there's systems that could be better for sure.
Yes. That's one
So there's
thing
a
that's
trade-off.
different that you learn that our
Yeah.
systems here are different. People see time differently.
Yes, exactly.
They see opportunity differently, but there's
Yeah.
nothing like being home.
There's nothing like being home. And I think one of the differences for me is like in the African context, we're very community driven. And in the UK or in like Western cultures, it's very individualistic.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I really missed and that I love being back home. So there is a trade-off. Perhaps there could have been better opportunities or better paying opportunities abroad. But I still feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
I love that.
Yeah.
So did that experience being in the UK change the way you see opportunity and digital landscape back home?
I don't think that it changed it per se, but perhaps it gave me language around it. So for instance, one of the lessons I remember that stuck with me was around community journalism. This is something that we see practiced every day in Africa, but I think seeing it as systemic is something that was eye-opening. So how it shaped my experience of the digital landscape back home was just more an awareness for how narratives are shaped, for how stories are told, for how, messages vary depending on the audience. And that strategic lens that exists in media today is what I had an awareness of. Because I think growing up, media was just a fun space. But now with my experience, with my academic experience, I was able to see how it's rooted in history and actually its tool in driving politics and the meaning around the understanding around people's worlds. So I think that's what I'd say. But there's nothing superior, in my opinion, about media in the UK versus us. And it's just all about translating that knowledge to our cultural context and seeing the threads and giving it language.
You started your journey fascinated by storytelling and media. What first drew you to the world of marketing and communication?
I would say it was a natural curiosity and love for creativity. Before I even knew what marketing was, I just was always so taken by how stories have the power to move people, to entertain people, to shape opinions, and to like take a cultural moment, like, I was gonna say a very let me not say that example, but to take a cultural moment and give it a new lens. So I think I was always very fascinated by that. In fact, I remember every Sunday we'd buy the newspaper, Nation, and there was an insert called Buzz. You guys remember Buzz magazine? Yeah. And so it was very, I was always so taken by the stories and the way they covered entertainment news. And so I'd always cut out the pictures of the stories I liked and try and rewrite it myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And back then it was obviously just playful, but now is when I can see actually those were the seeds I was planting. That was me really practicing how to change narratives and how to create emphasis in different places so that the message can land differently. And so I'd say that's when I think about my early experiences of this world that I'm in currently, that's what comes to mind. It was just a natural love for how expressive, stories are and how impactful and powerful they are. Yeah.
And I think it's very important to, even as parents, to just keep tabs and keep it in your mind what your child is interested in. Because when they grow up, it might be still their passion.
Exactly. Yeah. Your passion is basically what piques your interest.
Exactly.
And this thread, you'll always see it from when kids are young.
Exactly.
You'll hear, oh, the son used to sing in the belly and now there's Beyonce, So
yeah, you may never know.
Yeah. So I think it's important. I don't think mine was nurtured as much. And that's why I say like it's such a difference between my brother and myself in the way we were raised. Because for me, there was a lot of academic emphasis. But for him, it was more like, who are you as a person and what interests do you have? And so I don't blame my parents. It's what they knew.
Exactly.
And so with greater awareness comes, greater parenting practice. But I do think the threads of who someone is as an adult will always show up as when they were children.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
So you've moved through media, agencies, executive search. Looking back, what was the North Star connecting these seemingly different worlds?
I would say the North Star was a deep love for people and care for people, and then a deep love for creativity and expression, and then combining these two worlds. So I would say that is the thread that has tied all of these parts of my career together. But at the same time, it's also been an open mind, mindset. My mindset has always been to just trust where life is taking me. So in as much as I'm very driven and guided as a person, I also am very open to applying my skills in different settings. So I would say that's what.
So during that experience of yours, when would you say you stopped not stopped being creative, but stopped identifying as just being creative and now being a strategist?
I would say it's when I got into the world of work. I must say that I think not all creativity has to be strategic. I think there's a space for it to be joyful and to just be creativity for creative's sake. We live in a world that is H for hectic. And so whatever joy you can get from creativity, I think there has to be space for that. But when I did start to practice it to build brands and to achieve business outcomes, I think that's when I realized, strategy is needed. And for me, strategy is just guiding that creativity towards a particular purpose and towards a particular impact. So that curiosity, or that natural curiosity, is what led me to explore this world of strategy and to study analytics and optimization, because I wanted to understand the full journey of an idea. Because, as I've said, the beauty of creativity, or the beauty of creativity in terms of ideas, visuals, and storytelling had always been there. But now it was a matter of sharpening it and guiding it towards a particular impact. One of my mentors where I work right now always says, what is the so what? So I think that's the question that lingers in my mind when I think about creativity within a business or brand perspective. What do I want people to feel? How do I want them to act? What is the purpose of this creativity? And so I think it was really just work experiences that cultivated that, and also helped me to distinguish, when can we let creativity just be playful, and when does it need to be guided towards a particular impact. Yeah.
Marketing today can seem very noisy and trend driven. What makes communication truly meaningful to you?
The digital world especially really seems to reward visibility and speed and trends. And so communication can end up being very, very reactive.
Yeah.
And I think what separates the noise from meaningful communication is, does it combine two truths, the brand truth and the human truth? And this is as far as, the world of work. The brand truth is your unique value proposition, and the human truth is understanding people. Again, another mentor, actually the person who hired me into the role that I'm in now, always said everything always comes down to people. And it's a core belief that I move with. And even in the world of marketing, it's not just talking at people, it's making them feel seen in the work that you're doing and in the messages that you're sharing. And so I think the intersection of the brand truth and the human truth, people's needs, desires, pain points, that is where meaningful communication lies. So it's a little bit deeper than the trends. I know there's a place for that, but it's just, for me, it's about going a little bit deeper to ensure that your audience feels seen and heard, and that they can identify with the service or the product that you're speaking to, or the message that you are sharing. It needs to resonate, and it needs to be relevant, and that's grounded in a human truth. So,
I love the way you've explained that
yeah.
so well.
Yeah.
Where do you see brands consistently missing the goalpost in digital strategy? Because I feel like a lot of brands, they want to do the trends, they want to do what's everybody's doing, and sometimes it doesn't, the results don't give.
Yeah. I think it's about clarifying your purpose from the beginning. Again, as I said, when it comes to building a business or achieving business outcomes, you can't just jump on a trend for trend's sake.
Yeah.
I think back to the conversation around strategy, that's all it comes down to, I believe. I think you can clearly take a step back and see the brands that invest in a clear strategy, and they know who exactly they're talking to. You can't build a product or a message for everybody.
Yeah.
So I think some of the brands that I've seen kind of miss the mark. It's not clear who they're talking to, who their audience is. It always has to start with that. And it's also not clear what the purpose of what their messaging or their marketing is. And I think also another thing is measurement. It's very important to be tracking what you're seeing in the digital space, and there's so many tools that allow us to do that, and to ensure that it's actually yielding the results that you are looking for. So I think just being more data driven, more strategic, would go a long way.
So going viral is not the same as building something sustainable.
No, absolutely not. It's the same, but these concepts date back to forever. It's the same way we had one hit wonders versus people who built careers like Beyonce or Michael Jackson, the greats,
Yeah.
So I think it definitely is not the same. And that's where the strategy and consistency comes into play. Yeah. So the same principles, the same mindsets that we adapt in different spaces in our lives, that all needs to come even in a fast-paced world like the digital world and the world of marketing. Yeah.
You have certified in analytics and optimization. In an era of vibes, I would say, how would you use data to tell a more honest brand story?
I would start by identifying, as I said, what are you trying to achieve, and then and then identifying the milestones. And so giving also yourself enough time for a campaign or a message or a brand to percolate. And so I think, understanding the digital landscape, understanding who you are as a business, giving yourself enough latitude and ensuring that you have specific milestones to track against. I think, yeah, I think that's what it is. And I um always go back to the someone who said, the saying around Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built every day. So you just need to do little things every day. So I think it's one, identify your North Star and then
Yeah.
track towards it. And you have to have a pulse for what cadence you're gonna be tracking. Yeah.
And I think it's also remembering that data isn't criticism, it's
Yeah,
feedback.
it's information. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
Yeah.
How would you define a winning campaign when you ignore vanity metrics? For example, likes and surface engagement.
It would be rooted in what you're trying to achieve. So, for instance, there's a life cycle when it comes to marketing, and there's different stages. A business can be new, like I'm building Mama's Collective. I'm very much in the awareness phase. So, for me, reach is not a vanity metric. It's actually an indication of how many people are seeing my business. But for someone who is further down that life cycle and has a customer base and is just now building connection, for instance, and I've said Safaricom, but also like Nike, they do not need to be selling. We all know their
Exactly.
products, we all love them. But what they sell now is emotional resonance. It's about building community. And so for them, their metrics will look different. So I think how to avoid vanity metrics, it's just to root it in what you're trying to achieve. For me, reach is important. For them, perhaps it's about how many people are saving their content, are responding and sharing comments. But if I look at that for looking at its sake, I think then you kind of end up in the vibes.
Yeah,
Part of it.
very true.
Yeah.
So, looking back at your career so far,
Yeah.
what is one lesson about building a meaningful career that you wished you understood much earlier?
Confidence is everything. You need to trust your value. You need to trust your instincts. You need to trust your voice, and always speak up. Yeah. That's something I even wish I knew when I was in school. Always raise your hand. Always and also when it comes to the world of of corporate, you need to be visible.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing I wish I knew or honed in on earlier.
So, ambition hits different when you become a mother for anyone. But for me, I didn't realize that in that moment. I didn't feel it when my kids were newborns. I didn't feel it when they were weaning or starting to walk. In those early years, for me, I felt like I was surviving.
Yeah.
I was surviving every new week because every new week came with its
Different challenge.
new challenges and new stories. Once they started growing up, and I would say I was in a better mental state,
Space. Yeah.
I began thinking of ambition and motherhood together now.
Yeah.
And I would say that, I often say this, and I even said it in a trailer of mine, that before motherhood, ambition is much more linear. You're talking about what's my next move, what's my next goal in life. But once you become a mother, that changes.
Yeah.
And, your child is your top priority.
Yeah.
So, how would you say ambition was like for you before motherhood?
Yeah, I think as you've said, it was just very set on the ladder. What's the next move? What do I need to do now? It was also very linear in that I defined it as financial success or, titles.
Yeah.
And that's really, really vastly changed. I think my idea of ambition now has really expanded because when you are responsible for a young life, you start to think about what environment am I creating? How do I create a career that allows me to be present in the moments that matter? And the way I like to think about it now is in 30 years, when I look back on my life, I do think what would plague me the most versus did I achieve certain career milestones is was I there for my son during his formative years? And so I think it's expanded my sense of ambition for sure. And it's expanded how I define it. It's not just about titles. It's also about the home that I'm creating for my son. Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah.
And everything you're saying is actually what motherhood is all about.
Yeah. You have to center
You
that. Yeah.
Everything changes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it doesn't always change in a negative way, you know.
Yeah.
You are, you are aware that this little is, I would say, having a child is like getting a gift from God.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And you're thinking about how you're going to nurture that gift,
Yeah.
which is very important.
Yeah, and it's also important to make space for that to evolve. Maybe you are chasing CEO before you got a child, and now you're actually more interested in a Martha Stewart type of life, you know?
Exactly,
And that's
yeah.
fine.
That's fine.
As you said, it's a gift from God that allows you to evolve as a person, and
Right.
people evolve in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did becoming a mother reshape the way you approach your career and your goals?
Yeah, I think as I said now, I really value time and presence. And so as I mentioned earlier, I work from home.
Yeah.
That's something before that was neither here nor there. But now it's something that I look for, even as I think about progressing. I need to be able to ground my career growth in being able to be at home when I need to be. Yeah, so I think it's just expanded it and also made me look at my career more holistically as opposed to just one dimensionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just more interested in a better work-life balance, or a work that allows my life to exist in the different roles that I have. Motherhood being number one. Yeah.
So there's a question that I love asking all the guests who are especially mothers, because this is something that I feel like I'm still learning, because learning never really stops. What boundaries have you had to put in place to protect your energy?
Ooh.
And I love hearing this because I always like to, instill this in my own life.
Yeah, that's such a great question. I would say one time, obviously, like my calendar is blocked off from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's when I'm doing, actually to 9 p.m. That's when I'm doing back time. Yes, there are exceptions, but primarily that's what I do. And then my mental energy as well, and my mental space. I don't engage with bad vibes anymore. I'm just more ruthless about who I allow in my inner space.
Yeah.
I don't care that much what people think about me because I don't have the time. And that
I love
also,
that.
yeah.
I love that.
And so I think actually protecting my emotional and mental energy is what I do mostly to protect my boundaries. Yeah, I always say I have a corner in my heart that's just for me and God, and I protect that fearlessly because I need it for me as Nyambura, but now even more for me to be a better mom. Yeah. So I think that's what I would say. And what that looks like changes every day. It could be that I will leave the house and take a walk, or that I will blast music for 30 minutes as I shower and get ready because that's what I need to. But I listen to my body a lot more. And it helps me protect my boundaries given the situation and given the day. Another thing also, since my son was born, I've always said my shower time is my time.
Yeah.
Because again, I can only be a good mom if I'm taking care of myself.
Exactly,
You know what I mean? So that's a time I don't play with. Morning and evening, I don't want to be called. Yeah, my husband knows. Everybody in the household knows. So yeah, I think I just also decided what's the little thing I can do for me every single day that is untouched and that I get to cry or recalibrate or whatever the case. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, there are times when the house is quiet, the kids are asleep. I replay the day in my head.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Sometimes that's not really nice because you question a lot of the things.
Yeah.
You can question, did I rush them? Was I being too strict? Was I distracted? Was I fully over there?
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm really proud that they're seeing me build something.
Yeah.
Because they're at the age that they understand that mama's doing something new and she's excited about it. And I show them my videos.
Yeah.
So they really get excited about it.
I love that.
So I want to ask you, as a mother, do you ever struggle with the tension of being present and being driven at the same time?
Absolutely. I think every mom does. And I think for me, how I kind of work through that tension is one, by acknowledging that it exists. I love talking to other moms. So hearing that other moms are going through the same thing, even when you said you were really struggling at first when your babies were younger, to even spell ambition,
Exactly.
because you don't have
It
the
was
bandwidth.
impossible, yeah.
Exactly. And seeing that journey that other moms take, older moms. I think that has been really inspiring, and that helps to reassure me that I'll find my way just as they have. But I also think Indra Nui talks about this. She's a former Pepsi CEO, and she talks about how the biological clock and the career clock are always competing against each other, and you cannot have it all. You cannot be the perfect employee and the perfect wife and the perfect mom. Every single day you have to make trade-offs, and so today it's about deciding which role needs most attention. So I think there's a season for building professionally and a season for being a more present mom. That's the season I believe I'm in currently, and still trying to figure out what that looks like. But yeah, ultimately I would say uh, acknowledging that tension exists, and also accepting that there's nothing like a perfect balance. And so I'm not chasing balance anymore. And I think that's really freed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there are times that you can see me with my kids and you'll think, wow, she looks so put together.
Yeah.
Her kids are so well behaved. And there's another day you can see me and you're like,
What
whoa, this
happened to
woman needs
Safaa?
to teach her kids and herself some manners.
Yeah. And
So
herself.
do you feel the pressure to make it look effortless?
No.
Because there's a lot of, pressure on women in
Women,
society.
yeah, absolutely. I think it goes back to what I was saying about protecting my mental. I will crack if I do that, but I'm a perfectionist recovering, and so I'm very familiar with what it does to you when you put so much pressure on yourself. I think honestly, the one thing motherhood has given me is just freedom. I feel like I can exhale and just be what my son needs me to be. The rest of you will just have to get what you
Deal with
do.
it.
Oh, yeah, get with it, exactly.
Exactly.
So I don't feel that pressure at all. I allow myself to have the hard days and to have the good days as well. Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to put that in practice.
Yeah, please.
Because,
No,
like I said,
yeah.
you can never stop learning. And motherhood is
Exactly.
something that you learn every single day. Your kids
Yeah.
teach you, situations around teach you.
Yeah.
So it's a never ending journey.
Journey of learning. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
So I feel like motherhood doesn't shrink ambition, it sharpens it, it forces clarity.
Yeah.
Before the titles and mama label, who was the woman you were becoming?
Oh my God. Wow.
I'm taking you back.
I know, I know. I who was that? I was becoming. I think one of the things I've always struggled with is kind of like naming um I guess my destination or who I am. I just feel like I'm so many things and I'm constantly evolving. And I wouldn't say it has necessarily changed as a mom. I think I used to say I was in a blooming season, and I'm still in a blooming season now. I'm still in the journey of becoming.
Yeah, ever blooming.
Ever blooming.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that would be my tagline if I ever had one.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like there was a time in your life where your ambition was not shrinking, but it was just changing?
No, yeah, for sure. I still feel so driven, and I don't just want to be a good mom. I want to, like, as you said, chase your dreams, and you want to see your children see you chase your dreams. And so now I'm getting clearer about what are your dreams. And I think actually, just back to the previous question, I think the reason I struggled with it is what I was saying about really caring what people think, or paying attention to who I'm supposed to be as Nyambura, instead of just kind of getting quiet and figuring out, well, who do I actually want to be? Who am I? And I think that is the journey that I'm on, and I've been on for a few years. And now it's just with a sharper focus and with creating more space to listen to myself. So I think now is when I'm going through that season.
I would love to say that I actually love your confidence.
Oh, thank you.
So, in your early years, in your career years,
yeah.
what used to shake your confidence at that time that now doesn't shake your confidence at all?
I think I was afraid of not knowing at the time, and now I allow myself to not know. No one knows everything.
Exactly.
And I think what is my most valuable asset is my curiosity, is my deliberate exploration, my ability to find the answer regardless. And so I decided to just get clear on what is my value. And I think it also, again, it helps you learn, as you said. I love what you said about continuous learning. Seeing leading women also have these experiences in their careers where they're doubting themselves, and that helped me understand it about myself, that it's not unique to me. This is just a human experience, and you just have to get clearer about what you contribute by way of mindset. I think there are things that you can't teach that you already have and you're gifted in naturally. And so I just leaned into that. Yeah. And I think earlier on, I didn't know. I was like, man, if I don't know this thing, I can't be great at it. But that's not true. You can learn.
You can
You
learn.
can be open.
Exactly.
You can ask the right questions,
Yeah.
and there's growth in asking the right questions. Yeah.
In your corporate career, did you ever feel underestimated at any time, and how would you deal with it at that time?
Yeah, I will be honest and say that I have felt underestimated being back to work as a mom. And I do understand from a corporate perspective where that comes from. You can't bring motherhood into corporate.
Yeah.
You have to just be a boss babe and no one cares if your house is on fire. And I think in the beginning, last year is when I really was coming back to work after a long break. I wasn't able to because I've never been a mom before.
Yeah.
And all I knew is that I was being pulled in different directions at home and at work, and everything demanded my attention. Everything was urgent. And so I think there was a lot of doubt because then at the same time you have men, especially men can progress even if they've had children, you know? Yeah, like there's
Exactly.
nothing holding them back. But for a woman, even your brain chemistry is forever changed.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of last year just kind of working through that and figuring out how to reintegrate into work in a way that secures my value and my position and my contribution, but also ensures that at the top of my priorities is my son. And I think actually what's contributed to that being very hard is I've had a lot of nanny transitions.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Girl, you know,
that is one thing that is very hard to deal with.
Right?
Yeah.
And people don't talk
Even
about
as
it
a stay-at-home mom,
Yeah.
having a good nanny is like
Makes the biggest
having a
difference.
good husband.
Exactly. Oh my God, I
Honestly.
couldn't say it better myself. Exactly.
Literally.
Yes, that's it. And I didn't know that going into motherhood. I
Yeah.
thought as long as I have a good husband, I'm okay.
No, that's
the
not
person
enough.
who's day to day running around
Yeah.
with you and your child is your nanny.
Exactly.
Then if you don't have that support, it really is so hard to pour into other parts of your life. So yeah, that's man, it's a journey, and I really hope in being raw about it.
Yeah.
It inspires other moms or encourages other moms
Exactly.
to know that it's fine. If it's a hard season of learning to balance everything, it's the way it's supposed to be by design, and you have everything within you to overcome it. Yeah, that was for you, mom. Yeah.
So I want to share a small story of mine. When I was pregnant, there were a lot of things that I wanted to get for myself and my newborn, but finding them locally was a bit hard. So I had to import quite a few things. And I remember at that time, I was like, wow, I should actually start this as a little side hustle.
Yeah.
But anyways, I had my baby and that was the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
But that makes me think you build what you once needed.
Yeah.
So last year, you opened a gift shop for mums. I love that. Mama's Collective.
Yes.
Would you say it was born out of a specific void, or was it born because you just loved it so much?
Both. To your point, I also ended up importing so much. In fact, I have a friend who got a child in COVID and they imported a lot of things, but because of COVID, things ended up coming 6 months later. And so they ended up scrambling to find, what they needed and ended up buying, double what they had already shipped in before. It ended up being more expensive. Anyway, all of this to say it's the different experiences that I had as a mom and that moms around me have had in terms of accessing things that they need for their children, but also for them as well. And I think that gets neglected a lot.
Yeah.
What does mom need in that period? And it was born by a void, but also my own reflections on motherhood and understanding the challenges, especially of those early years. That postpartum period is so tough.
I know.
It's so complex, and I think for me it was, and this is, I really loved motherhood. I really really love it. And even then I realized what got me through the hard period was romanticizing the little things. So as I said, my shower time was romanticized, but also small things like drinking my water. You're forever hydrating as a mom.
Yeah.
And I realized that having like a cute tumbler actually like made me feel great.
Yeah, you look at it and you feel
wow,
good.
Yeah, I love this. And like now one of the products we have is an affirmation mug for moms.
Oh.
And when I drink using that mug, I feel empowered. And so I realized I want to be part of moms' journeys to encourage them that sometimes the joy in the little things is what will carry you through, and also make products that are functional. Yeah, so it helps you take care of yourself and to make memories with your baby, but also it's serving a purpose. So I do hope to expand and to grow into a shop that is like a one-stop shop for moms, so nobody has to be on Amazon shipping anything.
Yeah.
But step by step.
I love that
Yeah,
for you.
yeah,
And
thank
I'm actually
you.
going to be placing an order
Oh,
soon
yeah. I
because
should have
it's
brought
my
you a
mom's
gift.
birthday
Yeah. Oh,
next week, and I'd love to
nice.
give her something, just as a
Unique.
keepsake.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Please, I'm here. I'm here
Yeah,
for all your needs. And I
definitely.
also curate gifts as well.
Oh, nice.
And so if you
So, what would you recommend for a grandma?
Oh, for our grandma. Okay, so I have like these. So one, I would ask what kind of personality she is. If, for example, my mom is always carrying like a big handbag around, so I made these like little pouches where my mom can put her essentials, and it has her name on it. It's customized to have her name,
I love
Grandma
that.
Joyce.
Yeah.
It could be the best grandma on the planet.
Yeah.
Whatever. In terms of wording, I like to personalize it based on the actual person, but we do have those standardized items as well. So I think it would really depend on her personality. If she's someone who loves drinking tea, at that age they love to drink
Yeah,
tea.
she loves her tea.
Especially in this weather.
Yeah.
So I would customize a mug for her, and the colors that she likes, and a message that she likes.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's what I would recommend. Things that she uses every day.
I'll definitely be
A
placing my
nice
order.
tote bag that she
Yeah.
can carry when she's taking care of the kids. She can carry their essentials without it being, overburdening. A nice shawl with maybe your kids' names on it,
I love that. She
Cute.
would love
You should love
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so things
That's
like
really
those.
nice.
Yeah.
So, when you came up with Mama Collective,
Yeah.
what standards did you completely refuse to compromise on?
Quality. So I didn't get the cheapest supplier, and I tried. But I said I don't want, as you said, actually, when you're talking about your podcast and how you wanted to start strong,
Exactly.
because it's a brand that you're building, and I think that's something that I kept in mind. I don't want to skimp on quality just so I can make more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, beyond quality, what else? Just quality. Can't think of anything at the moment. It's still new, still building. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Mama Collective and your corporate career is two different things.
Yeah.
What part does Mama Collective allow you to express yourself that your corporate career doesn't?
I think creativity. I do, because I work in marketing, there is some creativity involved, but when you're thinking about it from a business perspective, it really shifts. It starts to feel more strategic. It actually is strategy. It exists more strategy in my corporate life. So with Mama's Collective, I can just think about the ideas that I want to explore and what I want to put in the world and just follow through with that. But I do think, obviously, as the business grows, I'll need to keep ensuring that I'm sharpening my focus and sharpening my data-driven lens. But now I'm allowing myself to also just have fun with it. Yeah, and I think it also allows me to fully express and explore and embody motherhood in a way that corporate life stifles. In my 9 to 5, I feel like I can't even say I'm a mom because I must be focused on the results that we are driving.
Exactly.
But then with Mama's Collective, I can really be the best thing, which is being a mom. Like I that's my favorite thing in the world.
Exactly.
So yeah, so that's what I love about the two worlds. But I do need my career as well. I think it helps me exercise my critical thinking. I love them both. They both play very different roles. So yeah.
I love that. I feel like you're an all-star, like an all-rounder.
High praise. I love that. I need this sound clip to play when I'm feeling down in the dumps. But yeah.
No, but I actually mean it.
Thank you. I try. Yeah.
So as you continue growing your career, your family, and this new business, what kind of impact do you hope your work will have in the long run?
And the one thing that I always go back to, actually, when I think of this question in terms of legacy and what have you, is the quote by Maya Angelou that says people will forget what you did and they'll forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And
I love
so,
that.
yeah, I love it so much as well. So even in my work, the way I work with my teams, this is channeled in the way I communicate to our learners. That is channeled in the way I try and manage my household and take care of my son and my family at large. I try and be conscious of that. I try lead with that. I'm not perfect, but I hope that when people think of me,
I love that.
they
That's
remember.
something actually I put into my day-to-day life. For example, if I come across someone and they're just rude and not very nice, the first thing is like, oh, maybe I should respond back like that. But then I'm like, but that's not who I am, number one.
Don't let them change who
And
you are.
number two, I don't want anyone else to have that perception of me because I'm not like that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave my mark like that on them.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So that's something I'm very conscious of.
So, as we near the end, we're on the last segment now.
Yeah.
This podcast is called Quiet Empire for a reason. You know, it's about the kind of power that doesn't always announce itself, but it leaves a very powerful mark.
Yeah.
So, I want us to talk about impact and the titles that outlive. So, in a noisy corporate and digital space, how do you exercise quiet power without having to perform?
I do the work. Just put my head down and do the work. Let my results speak for me.
Speak for themselves.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
If you were the architect of Africa's digital education system,
Ooh.
what was the first rule you would scrap out?
Wow. Guys, where was this question? Anyway, I'm joking. The first rule I would scrap out is technology not designed by Africans for Africans. I would make sure that we are at the center of creating solutions for ourselves. Yeah.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
Now, this is a very private question. You can answer it if you want. If you don't want to, don't worry.
Okay.
What are you working on right now that isn't for public applause but long-term impact?
Wow. That's a really good question.
You can take a minute, think about it, don't worry.
What am I working on right now that is? I would say understanding myself better, because one of the things that I always think about is awareness precedes choice. I think I'll make better choices once I understand why I make the choices that I make currently. And so I think I find myself thinking about my childhood a lot, things that have shaped me. It's something that I even want to go back to therapy and explore. Why do I react in certain ways to different situations? I really just want to be a better version of myself. And I think that is the work that I am doing now, because I also feel like it will spill into all these other areas of my life. It will make me a better founder. It's going to make me a better person to the people I interact with. It's going to make me a better employee. And so I think, I would say that's the quiet work I'm doing, understanding myself better. Okay. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because you can never stop working on yourself.
You can't. Yeah. And I've always been introspective. I really value that. And I think maybe it will never change. Maybe I'll always be doing that work, but I think now it's very, very present in my life. And that's one thing I can think of.
So I don't know if you've noticed, but right now in Nairobi, there's a constant energy for more. Everyone
hustle culture.
Hustle culture. And I literally even spoke about that today in one of my solo videos. So everyone wants more success, more visibility, more income, more growth. Everyone is hustling.
Yeah.
And sometimes I stop and wonder, at what point do we stop and say enough? This is enough for me. Like, there's some people, I see it on their face. I see the burnout on the face, the way they talk to people, the vibes they give out. Sometimes I even feel like just lighting some sage and taking it around them and saying, it's enough, you're okay, relax.
Yeah.
So what does enough mean for you?
Wow. Oh, this section is quite deep.
Yeah.
What does enough? Have I found enough? I don't know what enough looks like for me, but I think that's one of the things that I'm exploring. For instance, it's very personal, but it's fine. I was sharing with my husband how, I wanted to now switch careers, get more money, and he's the one who actually made me see the opportunities that I currently have in my current role. Because as you're saying, I was just being clouded by like, oh my God, now my son will grow, he needs to go to school, I have bigger bills to pay and what have you. But his one who made me see that by building a holistic career, being at home more, they say that the first 3 years of a child are formative. That's what forms their attachment style, how they think about themselves. And I was like, this is, it's enough for me to be making as much as I make, because it allows me to be present in my son's life. And so enough just looks like, what state are you in that you're able to show up for yourself and your family and the things that are important for you, I think holistically. It's a very in the clouds answer, because I'm still trying to figure it out. Yeah, sometimes when you have that ambition or that desire for growth, it can be insatiable, but yeah, I agree. You need to slow down sometimes and
Yeah.
just,
But I love that you're
yeah,
being so raw and saying that you're
yeah,
still trying to figure that out. Yeah,
yeah,
because a lot of the people wouldn't know what enough is for them. That's why,
exactly.
like I said, you can see it on the face, in their
Yeah,
attitude, in their aura.
but they're not able to name it and just,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Last question
Yes.
now. Do you think ambition for women in Nairobi is evolving, or are we still negotiating too much? And this is also
Mm,
for the audience. I would love to know your thoughts about this.
yeah. Are we negotiating too much? I do think it's evolving. I think there's been a
Mhm.
lot of progress. Um, I think I think that the world is making more room for women to be exactly who they want to be, and we're not where we need to be.
Mhm.
But we there has been progress, and
We're getting there.
we're getting there, and
Yeah.
I'll always upload progress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
So before I wrap up, I
yeah.
always like to do a quick lightning round at the end of each episode.
Love
It's
it.
just to lighten the mood up.
Yeah,
So you don't really have to overthink any answers,
yeah.
just short.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, rapid
Okay,
fire.
okay.
So data or intuition?
Intuition.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Coffee or tea when you need to think clearly?
Ooh. I was gonna say tea. When I need to think clearly, coffee.
Okay.
Hmm.
One productivity habit that actually works for you?
Writing everything down.
A belief about hustle culture you have unlearned?
You don't always have to be productive. Rest is also important.
One thing motherhood has made you surprisingly good at?
Being myself.
One thing motherhood has completely humbled you about?
I am not in control.
Mhm. A small luxury you refuse to give up?
It's not a luxury, but my shower time, I feel like I sing about it all the
Yeah,
time.
you've
But yeah,
mentioned it.
that is my time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you had one full day with no responsibilities at all, how would you
Mm.
spend it?
I would sleep,
Mhm.
be on the couch watching a good movie,
Yeah.
and then also doing some online shopping as well and booking flights for a trip.
Wow, I
That's
love
what,
that. I
yeah.
would do the exact same thing,
Yeah.
nothing different.
Yeah.
And lastly, one word that describes the season of your life right now.
Ever blooming. That's two words, but
I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nyambura.
Thank you
This
so much,
conversation
Safa.
has been very powerful,
Yeah.
enlightening, and
Yeah.
it's honestly taught me so much.
Yeah, I'm glad. I've learned a lot as well, just
Yeah.
even hearing back from the answers, but listening
Mhm.
to your experiences.
Yeah.
And I've said this to you, and I just must say you are an incredible host.
Oh,
I have
thank
felt
you.
comfortable and,
Thank you
confident to
so
just share
much. Yeah.
my opinions and my lived experience in a
Mhm.
way that hopefully will be impactful to your listeners.
Yes.
And yeah, thanks for having me. I had a
It was
blast.
my honor,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. Moms
Yeah.
need to get together more often. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Thank
Very
you.
true.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening to Quiet Empire. Trust the quiet work, it's building more than you think.